Okay, so briefly, why do we care about urban segregation? Humans live in cities because they offer certain key benefits, things like access to good food, access to good jobs, and some would say most importantly, access to other people and the economic and social exchange that comes with that. So a critical function of cities is to make sure that all of their residents have equitable access to those benefits that come with urban living. But as people who live in cities, we all know that that equitable distribution of benefits doesn't always happen. People naturally live, work, and socialize with other people who are like them in certain ways, which can lead to both residential segregation, where people are more likely to live in the same place as others who are similar in terms of income, ethnic background, or religion, other aspects of socioeconomic status, and also segregation in the ways that we move around cities, experience cities, and our daily mobility spaces. So when taken to the extreme, this kind of thing can have adverse effects. It can lead to situations where there's little to no interaction at all between certain socioeconomic groups or certain neighborhoods of the city, which can segment the city, it can exacerbate inequality, and it can cause mistrust between groups. And then it can also create big differences in terms of access to the types of benefits that people really live in cities in order to kind of gain from. So in this study, we take two different approaches using two very different data sets to studying urban segregation. The first, which we'll call Study A, uses a massive mobile phone data set in order to ask what types of urban public spaces and amenities are able to either foster or impede the interaction of socioeconomically diverse groups of people. And then in the second study, which we call Study B, we use kind of rich, nuanced, and qualitative PPGIS survey data in order to ask how different groups of people use the city differently and how they've responded differently to needs posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. Study C, which is still to come, is going to involve leveraging the strengths of both data sets together in order to compare and integrate results. So in Study A, we have three major objectives. The first is to map experience diversity, or your likelihood of encountering someone who's different from you in terms of, for example, income, across the city of Stockholm. We call this experience diversity. This was largely completed in phase 1, and in phase 2, we've moved on to the second two objectives, which involve identifying the types of urban spaces and amenities that host these diverse interactions between people from different parts of Stockholm, hoping to identify the types of places we can plan in order to create a more cohesive and integrated city. So first, I'll talk about how we measure experience diversity. Using our mobile phone data set, which was obtained in partnership with Telia, we're able to identify where visitors to a given part of a city are coming from at any given time. So for example, here, these black dots represent visitors to Kista Center over the course of our study period. And you can see that they're largely concentrated around Kista, but there are also visitors from other parts of the city. And then we can assign an income group to the visitors to an area based on their estimated home neighborhood. And using these estimated incomes, we can calculate a diversity index that represents the average kind of socioeconomic difference between the people who are gathered in a given space at a given time. So for example, in Kista, this index is actually quite low. And then we can do this across the entire city of Stockholm. So here you can see that experience diversity is actually pretty clustered in space. So for example, Kista up here in the dark red is a bit of a hotspot of low experience diversity, where people are mainly interacting with people who are similar to them. And in general, we see that areas that have more libraries, schools, healthcare facilities, and restaurants host more diverse interactions, see more of this experience diversity. But it's difficult to say whether it's because of those types of establishments that diverse interactions are happening in a place. It's hard to say things like, if you build more libraries, you're going to increase diversity and cohesion in a city. So in order to make statements like that, we would need some kind of experiment, which is difficult to do on a large scale in a city. So what we do is we take advantage of road closures, which in a sense randomly adjust as roads close and as they open back up, the access that people have to different urban amenities in Stockholm over the course of a year or two. And we're able to use these semi-random fluctuations in order to tease out the causal relationship between certain types of urban amenities, access to those amenities, and the diversity that people experience as they move around cities. And this is still a work in progress, but our initial results are showing that access to parks and arts and culture institutions kind of actively increase people's experience diversity, which indicates that these types of spaces could be really key integrators, especially when located between diverse neighborhoods in helping to plan for a more integrated and cohesive city. So you can see that from our large kind of geospatial data set, we're able to find broad statistical patterns in the ways that people move cities. But what that data set lacks is nuanced information about why exactly, qualitatively, people go where they go. So for that, I'm going to pass things on to Daniel.
Thank you. And some of you have seen a bit of this before, but what we've been looking at in the PPJS study, PPJS means a self-reported digital interface where we ask people to locate where they live roughly. We are very clear that we will interpret it within a certain distance, so that and they may place it within a certain distance, so we have that in there. But then also, since this was done during the pandemic, we specifically asked about places they visit more, they visit less, or visit the same amount as before the pandemic. And then we have a full year set of data which we're looking at now. Earlier we've been looking at a smaller set. And then we have, if we remove all of the doubles, all of the unsecure data, all of the things that we don't quite can say, what quality it is, we have 1,800 residence locations in Stockholm. And all of those also then have pairings with responses to the other questions. So we've also removed the ones that only say, I live here, and they're done with a questionnaire, right? So, which is a rather big data set that we are looking then at and one of the reasons to look at this data and understand the sort of in relation to segregation is to understand the living conditions and the resilience of cities in terms of an unjust sort of distribution of things. Because if we look at this image, for instance, which compares among the places of services avoided, they were usually within more than 3 kilometers from the home locations, and among the places of service still visited, they were usually within 1 kilometers of the home location, which you can say, well, that's obvious because people go more at home. But if you look at the colors actually on this map of the ones that are still used, we can see that it's not the same. It's not an equal distribution of how far you need to go and from where you need to go and to where you need to go. So the city is not really dealing with the pandemic in a equal manner in that sense as a built environment. And this is something we can look at and learn from. So how would we actually work with this policy, architecture, planning, and so on, to make sure that if a similar things happen, for instance, or what are the dependencies? How big are they? How large are they? How much do you need to travel just to do your daily life? That really brings a lot into that and in these images. We do also a little bit on Kista, so you can see here. You can see one weakness when talking about Kista in this is that we really pump this out through the municipalities of Stockholm, Uppsala, Gävle, and Gothenburg, which means that we don't have so many answers from outside of Stockholm municipality. That skews the data, right? Just to be open with it, but you can see we have some answers. But still, this is regarding Kista Centrum specifically, dots within the Kista Centrum, from where have people been avoiding it, the people that used to go there, still visit and used more. You can see very few used it more, right? If we switch to Kista area, it looks a little bit different. We still see the same pattern, but especially we see a larger number of respondents. But we can also see how there is a peculiar increase also in terms of respondents who use it more, which again could be because of otherwise they have to travel out of Kista. It's not only people coming into Kista to work here, there's also living area here that people have to go out from. That's part of the same problem, right, in terms of dealing with a work housing balance. But these are the things we're looking into now and understanding them better, and of course trying to tie them then to, just like in the other part of the project, to how it works in relation to planning and architecture and the built environment.